Good day unto you. I'd like to speak to you about three things: the thought, the reality, and the truth. The thought, the reality, and the truth. The Bible reads from John chapter 1 through 14. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things was created by him, and without him was nothing made. The same was in the beginning. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. John was not the light, but he came to testify about the light, that through him that all might believe, that the true light which gave life to all men who entered into the earth. The light, he was in the earth, and the earth was created by him, and the earth knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. As to many as received him, he gave unto them power to become sons of God, who believe in his name. This was not the will of blood, this was not the will of the flesh, nor of men, but by God, unto those who believe in his name. John 1:14. And the word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld the glory, the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. The thought, the reality, and the truth. The Bible speaks about in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word, what is talking about the logos in that, but it actually means more. It means the mind of God, the will of God, the thought of God, the idea of God, the brilliance of God, the perspective of God, the omniscient great mind of God. Don't think just because you have the Bible, you know all there is to know about Jesus, and you know all Jesus. That is a partial given unto us. The word is much greater. It is the presence of God's mind to us, his thought. Do you know how powerful your thought is? Do you know how powerful your mind is? You know the saying, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. The thought of God, the brilliance of God, the excellency of the knowledge of God. Your thoughts are something to be had. That's why the enemy knows, and he fights you for your thought. Everything attacks your mind, stresses you out, gives you anxiety, gives you headaches, gives you migraine, because the enemy wants to attack your mind. Your mind is the most lethal, dangerous thing that you possess. It is the identity, the character, the essence of the creation of who you are. It is the incubator that makes everything that comes to start. It is your mind. It is the seed platform. It is the concept. It is the thought-bearing area. It is the place that conceives every area. Your mind. It is a terrible thing to waste all of the great idea, all of the great knowledge, all of the great concept, all of the great things that you have in your mind. You are being fought. You know, they will assassinate a man, not because he has things, not because he wants things, because of his mind, his thought. The most dangerous thing is your thought. Have you ever thought how great your mind is? Have you ever thought, why do I think the way I think? Why do I possess the thoughts I possess? Why do I process information the way I process information that causes me to feel? How do you actually think? Have you ever taken the time to sit back and to relax and then to do a psychology analysis of your own mind to see how do you think? Why do I think the way I think that makes me feel the way I feel and then makes me do the things that I do? It starts in your mind. Your mind is lethal. Your mind is wonderful. Your mind is great. Your mind is dangerous. Your mind is amazing. The thoughts that are in your mind are so precious. People will spend billions of dollars, millions of dollars. People will love you for your mind, but at the same time, people will hate you for your mind. It is your mind that separates you from everybody else. It is your mind that shows you the perspective, the way you see life. Your mind, could you imagine a man came one day and he saw the birds and he said in his mind, I believe men can fly. And others begin to argue and begin to ridicule him, begin to laugh at him, begin to talk about him. And next you know, planes was created. But then another man took it further. He came and looked at the moon and said, I believe man can go up to the moon. The mind is a great tool. People are upset because of the way you think. This is why people hate you. As long as you don't think, people got no problem with you. But as soon as you start thinking and you express, and the thought, the brilliance, the intelligence became the word. He began to speak his mind. And God said, let there be. When you speak your mind, it comes out of the hidden territories into the visible, into the abstract, into the concrete world, into the physical world. And people will hold you accountable because now they can communicate, because now they know what's in your mind. People watch you just to see what you're going to do, because they want to know what's in your mind. You can think what you want to think, but once things leave your mind, it is now for everybody to have access to. Your mind. How are you using your mind? You know your deliverance is in your mind. Your freedom is in your mind. Your blessing is in your mind. Everything you ever desired, everything you ever wanted is in your mind. You don't have to go ask another person. It's right in your mind. If you ever got a hold of your mind to see what's up in here, you will stop chasing people around and start chasing your own thoughts around and start working on your own thoughts. Your mind. Your thoughts. Which makes your words, which makes your feelings, which makes your actions, which turns to your behavioral patterns, which now gives you a life pattern, a lifestyle, the way you live. It's in your mind. It starts. Everything you dealt with started in your mind. You saw something, you heard something, you felt something, and then you process it, and then you react to it. Many people are afraid to reveal their mind because they are scared how people might take them. The reality. The Bible tells us that they must become, the word became flesh, John 1:14, the word became flesh. He said, as many as we believe, as many as believe, he gave them power to become. See, you must tie your faith to your works. Many times we just tie faith to religious tradition and works. No, you must tie your faith. Your faith should be tied to a great thought, a great idea, a great concept, a great product, your business mind, your entrepreneur mind, your work mind, your developed mind, your man mind, your woman mind. Your faith must tie, the central processing unit of your mind, tie it to your work. In other words, if you don't believe something, you're not going to work at it. No matter how much you say it, if you don't believe something, you're not going to get at it. If you believe something, it's going to make a commitment, because that's going to be a conviction within your heart. The problem with you is that you're expecting God or the universe or things just to work out in your favor. It don't. He said, as to many of them that believe. I had a thought, I believe. He said, I've given you power. That's it right there. To become. To become is the work. It's going to take a lot of work to become who you want to become. It's going to take a lot of work to do the things you want to do. It's going to take a lot of work to achieve the dream you want to achieve. It's going to take a lot of work. It ain't going to come easy. It's not just going to be given to you. It's going to take a lot of work to become, but you got the power to become. He said, if you just believe, I'll give you the power, but you got to work that stuff. If you work it, you'll become it. But don't be fooled. People will fight you for it. People will hate you for it. People will be mad at you for it. People will be angry at you. People will come at you. And not just people. The enemy will fight you because what's in your mind. As long as you keep it shut up in here, nobody cares. But once you start speaking and start doing it, it's forming you. You're transitioning. You're becoming something else. And the word became flesh. It will transform you. It will change you. That person you want to become, you will never become it by just talking about it. You got to put in the work to become that person. That success you want, you got to put in the work to have that success. The thought must become a reality. Whatever you sought, whatever you believe, whatever you had inside of you must become a reality. The reason it's not a reality is because you are divided. The Bible said in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. They were in unity, they were in unison. You have a thought in your mind, you're processing idea, but the problem is you don't have no conviction in your heart. Your feelings are all over the place. You feel one way, you think one way, you're emotional another way. You are so divided. In a house that is divided, shout shall not stand. You are a mess on the inside, and this is the reason you don't want to reveal yourself to anybody else, because you are afraid that they might see who you are. Fix the house. Fix your mind, and you shall become. Because once the mind is aligned, the thoughts are aligned with the word, and the words you say are aligned with the action will get the fuel, it will get the drive, it will get the energy, it will get the power from your heart. You will have a drive, you will have a stride, you will have the ability, because your heart will push you. That's why they tell you in school, when you learn something, you learn it by heart. You got to get it down inside. David said, thy word have I hid in thy heart, that I may not sin from me. Because when things come up against me, my heart will give me the power, the strength to deal with what I need to deal with. If I learn it, it might escape me. But once it comes up, it will draw it. It will pull it out of my subconscious. It will give you the courage, the confidence, the knowledge. It will get that stuff inside of you, because the deep stuff that you need are inside of you, buried on the inside. And it's in your heart. But that thought, that idea, that stuff you're afraid to do, you're never going to become the reality if you don't become. Tie your belief with your work. Tie your faith with your work, and you will become that. Your success is hindered by you and for you. Can nobody steal your stuff? You ain't got to worry about people who's jealous, who don't like you, who don't care about you. All of that is nonsense. You put your mind to it, and you tie your heart to it, and you put the work in. Trust me, you're going to get your stuff. The last thing is, he said, real, true. John 1:14, and the word became flesh, and it dwelt among us. See, once you believe in something, once you put the work in, people got to have access to it. There's no way around it. And the word, and it dwelled among us. Jesus, the word. In the beginning, he was with God. Then he came and became flesh, and then he dwelt among us. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the synoptic gospels. The gospel tells us the historical point that they walked with Jesus. They talked with him. They got to know him. They got to the language of him, how he works, how he thinks, how he feels, how he does things. It's got to be among people. They got to be able to touch it. They got to be able to feel it. They got to be able to criticize it and talk about it. You got to be able to accept it. You got to be strong enough that you are not afraid when somebody says something about you that it means nothing. You know, when a product gets recalled, when they make a product before it becomes a household product, a brand name, you know why? It gets criticized. This is why everything you do, they want to survey, because they want to know. They want to know. You want a survey. You want to take a survey? You want to take a survey? Can you take this last survey before? Because they want to know. And if the product is not good, they do a recall. They bring it back in. They work on it, make it better, and then they put it back out. You got rejected, and all of a sudden, you pull back in, and you never came back out. You better bring yourself out and stop hiding in your mind. Stop telling yourself you're this, you're that, and God's going to bless you, and God's going to do it. God said, get that stuff out of your mind. It'll drive you crazy when you got all that potential, all that power, all that blessing, all that future, and it's just locked up. You made it a prisoner. It's got to be real. And the only way it's going to be real is that it's got to be among people. It's got to dwell among us. We got to be able to touch it. We got to be able to feel it. We got to be able to give our input, our idea. Well, I like this. I don't like this. Well, I think you can change it. Don't be hurt. It's still in the process. Because the thing about if it's true, and we beheld the wonder of his glory, the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. If it's true, it will get tested. And like anything tested in the fire, and Corinthians tells us that it will burn away the chaff, and the pureness and the realness of it will stay. This is how you know who you become. This is how I know when you made something and people try it and people said, I like it. I don't like it, but you get the majority of people who will come back and subscribe to it. People are not going to invest in you if they don't see what it is first. Because you know what truth is like? Truth is a buried treasure. Everybody's digging and trying to find the truth. They want the truth. Can you find the truth? Who knows the truth? We know the truth. What's the truth? They want the truth. It's like a diamond underneath the mountain. The mountain is all of the lies. And the diamond just takes the pressure day in and day out because it's being formed to become something valuable. No diamond seeks to be found by people. People go digging for it. People will go digging for who you are. People will go digging for what you become. The other day I got a phone call. Somebody said, yeah, I was doing an inquiry about you. I like some of the things you were saying. I want to know a little bit more about you. It's just doing an inquiry. They're searching because people don't just want to invest in anything. They want something that is true. They'll dig up to buy it. And so when they find it, they'll find a buyer, they'll find a seller, they'll get you what you need, they'll spend on you what you need, but you got to become true, and you just got to deal with the pressure of becoming. Unto them that believe, he gave them power to become sons of God. He gave them power. You got more power than you realize. You got more strength than you realize. You got more vigor than you realize. You got more tenacity than you realize. He said, I've given you power to become sons of God. Look at God elevating your status. Look at God raising you up. He said, I've given you more power to become. Oh my God, I'm trying to get to somebody I have. You got the power to become. Don't worry about what people say, think, feel about you. You got to worry about what he said. Jesus said to say, who do they say that I am? Some say, but he said, who do you say that I am? The most important thing is what you say about you and the work you put in it. Because when you put the work in it, don't worry about it getting tested. It's supposed to get tested. And he dwelt among us. It's got to get tested. And even if they crucify it, it'll rise up again. It'll come back. Because the one thing about truth, no one is free until they know the truth. I don't care who you thought might have took your position or might have took your thing. It might fail. It might falter. But if yours is true, if your character is true, if your product is true, if your idea is true, if your mind is true, if the work that you put in was true, it will come to pass. And you shall have what you have sought, what you have asked, what you have made it. The thought, the reality, the truth. Many of you are afraid to reveal your real self. And you hide in an incubator of your own mind. And you have all this great idea and you want to show yourself. But you want to show the reality of who you are because you're afraid of what people might say. Put in the work. Because a criticism is also a compliment because there's something that you can see that you can deal with. Being invisible means absolutely nothing. Let them say what they need to say because the true essence of the work you put in and the thought that you generated from your mind will come forth. It will be tried, but it will come out true. And when they crucified him and they buried him who was the Word, who was with God, who came unto his own and they received him, but as many as received him, he gave them power. Yet he came as the flesh, and he dwelt among us, and we beheld the glory, and yet crucified, but he rose again. Trust me, you got a rise inside of you that's going to change everything about your life. Rise, because you are thought, the reality, and you are the truth. God bless you.